Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Bride of Dracula. The Goddess Next Door and John Haynes team up to take on the Dark Vampire in this action-packed Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Bride of Dracula in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. I was watching a Diversity in Comics video, and he was talking about how comic book writers like Kurt Busiek and many other people who work in the comic book industry, like Tom Beverett, were blocking people on social media like Twitter and Facebook. And this isn't a good thing for the comic book industry, which has been struggling with a sales slump for the last 25 years. And customer service has been a major issue for the comic book industry since its inception in the late 1970s. When it comes down to customer service, many comic book publishers, many comic book editors, many comic book store owners don't understand what customer service means and how customer service has a long-term impact on the products you sell and to appealing to new audiences of customers. Because if you don't treat the customer with respect, then the customer has no incentive to come into your store and buy comics or approach the industry and see it as a place where they can go buy products from. Because if the customer does not feel comfortable buying products and does not feel like they're being appreciated and respected, they're going to vote with their wallet and go buy a competing product. This is something many in the comic book industry just don't understand, and the problem has gotten worse over the last, I'd say, 7 or 8 years since DC Comics decided to end its original DC universe and start the New 52, and Marvel decided to go on this SJW agenda, because in both cases we saw the customer service situation deteriorate at both companies. Now, I remember back in 2011 when DC decided to launch the New 52, it was reported that guys like Dan Dido and Jim Lee were sitting there at a panel and people were venting their anger at them, and these guys blew them off. And that had a ripple effect on DC Comics' brand and DC Comics' products over the last 7 years, because those customers felt like they were slighted, some felt slapped in the face, and many felt offended by the way they were treated when this reboot came to be debuted back in 2011. And that impacted DC Comics sales over the last 7 years and led to a decline in DC Comics' sales. Moreover, it did thorough damage to the DC Comics brand, not only with comic books, but it did damage to their licensed products like action figures, video games, and other merchandise, including things like pencils, paper, and other licensed goods. People just weren't buying DC Comics products because the way people were treated after that reboot, and people just felt like they weren't being respected, and they felt like they weren't being valued as customers, because the way the reboot was implemented did not show the customer the respect that they deserved, and the people at DC and Warner Brothers did not show people that they valued their money. And because they felt like their money was not being valued, they didn't want to buy DC Comics products. Because I've heard people go out here and say, I'm not buying any more DC Comics. Moreover, they decided they weren't going to buy action figures like DC Universe Classics or even DC collectibles. People just stopped buying their DC products, and they started putting their whole collections on eBay. I saw that happen from 2011 all the way up till now, and people are still doing it because of the way they felt they were treated by DC Comics, Warner Brothers, and the way Dan Dido and Jim Lee handled the situation. People were angry about that, and they decided, if you're not going to treat me with respect, and you're not going to value me, you're not going to get any more of my money. Moreover, I'm so angry about the way you have treated me, I'm not going to even keep your products in my home. And that's how angry people were with DC Comics. And they're still struggling with a customer service issue, and they still have not dealt with that customer service issue in a constructive way. And I've seen this customer service issue happening at Marvel with this whole SJW agenda. They're also blowing people off at panels ignoring people, and the whole blocking people on social media is another escalation of the customer service issue. What many people in the comic book industry don't understand is that your customer has the money, and because they have the money, they have the power, they have the leverage to decide whether they want to buy your products or whether or not they want to buy your products. And if you want to get their products, you have to show them some respect when they approach your business and they want to buy your products. That means if there's a comic panel, you're going to have to listen to those people who are expressing themselves, because this is your customer. And you should want to listen to your customer, because your customer is the person putting money on the table. This is their money, and they're telling you what they want in their products, in your products, and they're telling you what they like about your products. And if they're telling you they dislike something, then you need to listen, because if you listen to the customer and give them what they want, they're going to give you more money. Moreover, what they're going to give you is word of mouth. And word of mouth is something that can build your reputation as a business. And when you're having a business, you have to have that word of mouth, especially in something like publishing, in order to build your business. Because when publishing, books are sold primarily through word of mouth. The more people who read a book and have a great experience with it, they go to blogs, they go to message boards, they go to YouTube, and that's how you're going to sell more books. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the trade publishing industry with romance novels and paperbacks, we understand this, but a lot of people in the comic book industry, they don't understand this tenet of word of mouth. And they go out here and they do things to alienate the customer, not understanding that you are building a negative word of mouth with your customers by being rude on social media, ignoring people at comic panels, at conventions, blowing people off. That type of stuff leaves a sour taste in the customer's mouth. And if there's a sour taste in the customer's mouth, that's going to affect the reputation for your products, and it's going to affect the reputation for your brand. And unfortunately, many people who work in the comic book industry don't understand these concepts as related to business, because they are a lot more on the creative side, but they don't understand the business side of publishing. Because on the business side of publishing, you have to understand that when you're out here and you're representing your company, you are the face of your company. And when your people are out here, they are representing your company and your brand. And when you're doing things like going to a Comic-Con, you have to treat the customer with respect. And you have to, on social media, you have to treat the customer with respect as related to your products. And when you're out here, you are the face of that company. You are the face of that product. And if you're out here insulting customers and they're seeing this on social media, or they're seeing this at Comic-Con, what incentive do they have to go out here and continue buying your products? This is the big problem with the comic book industry, and it has gotten worse over the years. Because I remember back in the 80s, it just used to be comic shop owners who would do things like saying no reading, or blowing people off, or approaching people who were going to the register in a condescending fashion. And that stuff made a lot of people not want to go buy comics from comic shops, and that affected a lot of comic shops' business, especially when in the days of the 90s collapse, where 50% of these comic shops went out of business, because they didn't understand that when you have a business and you have customers coming in, you just can't treat customers any sort of way. Yes, a lot of customers have a lot of questions. A lot of customers are very curious, and you have to take the time, if you can, to answer those questions, because that's going to lead to people feeling comfortable, feeling like they can trust you. And if they feel like they can trust you, you can build a word of mouth with other people, and that can bring to more people into your business. Unfortunately, many people in the comic book world, some are introverts and some have issues, and they don't understand that more people means more money, and more customers mean more business, and they want to deal with their regulars, but they don't understand that new customers mean more business, more money, and it leads to you building a connection with the community. And that connection with the community is what's going to allow your shop to stay in business. And when you have a publisher, that reputation and stuff, and that connection is going to lead to people wanting to continue buying your products. And this is something people don't understand in the comic book industry regarding customer service. Customer service is paramount to rebuilding the comic book industry. You have to understand that the customers, your goal is to get the customer to buy your products and enjoy your products and have such a great experience with your products that they want to go out and tell their friends about them. That's how you get sales. Unfortunately, in the comic book industry over the last couple of years, as things have escalated with this antisocial behavior, we've seen people starting rumors, starting drama, and they're thinking that all this stuff on the message boards where they're going back and forth is positive, and that this negative attention is positive. Unfortunately, when it comes down to negative attention, it leads to negative sales. So all this stuff that people have been doing at DC and Marvel has led to negative sales because they have sat there and they have started these rumors where they're talking about killing people's favorite characters off. They've done things like that New 52, which alienated customers. They've done things like the Marvel Now and the SJW agenda with diversity. And they're thinking that because they're getting a headline in a newspaper, they're getting positive attention. Unfortunately, that's not leading to positive long-term sales. People hear this news, they get angry, and then they have less incentive to go out here and buy comics. And they have even less incentive because most comics are only sold in comic book stores. So they look at that hostile environment of the comic book store, they look at the way the comic book industry markets to people, and people decide, I don't want to bother with this. And this is what's hurting the industry. This is why the industry is on the verge of collapse, one of the reasons, because one, the content is bad, and then two, you have this customer service issue that no one wants to address. Again, customer service is paramount towards building a brand and building a product's reputation. And unfortunately, because many people in the comic book industry don't have that business background, they don't understand the intangibles of reputation as it relates to a brand. As a publisher myself, I understand how important it is to provide good customer service to my readers. I have a Twitter open, I have a Facebook open, I often interact with many of my readers online, and I try to be as professional and as courteous as possible when I am on Twitter and Facebook, and even here on YouTube. And I try to interact in a very courteous way and in a very amicable way with the people who buy my products and support my products. And while some people may disagree with the products that I present on the SJS Direct imprint, I will try to reconcile those issues with people if you come to me, and I will try to work with them. I try to keep the channels open, and I only block and delete people only if they go into ad hominem attacks and personal attacks. I do not block people if they have a difference of opinion or they disagree with me, because I understand that good customer service is about making yourself open to the customer, making yourself accessible to the customer, and showing them that you care about them, because customer service is 90% listening and 10% talking. When customers told me that they were having problems with the covers on some of my books, I went out and hired an artist, Bill Walco, to design new covers for the ISIS series, and I went out and I did things like buying stock photos for books like Spellbound. I showed my readers that I'm listening to them, and if you have concerns, I will make efforts to do things. Moreover, I've had people come to me and say, oh, there was an issue with the typos in this book, and I told them, okay, I will go and fix that, and I will go change that. If there was a problem with a book, I will go out of my way to go and fix that book, upload it again to a site like CreateSpace or Smashwords or Kindle and make sure that that book is the highest quality possible, because I understand that my customers are important. I value my customers, and I value every dollar that they spend with me because I value them, I appreciate them, and I appreciate the time that they take to go out and buy my books and read my books. And I wish the people at DC Comics and Marvel Comics and the comic book industry would understand how important customer service is to their brands, like I understand how important it is to the SJS Direct imprint. Because if you do not treat your customers right, they're going to become somebody else's customers. And when they become somebody else's customers, you can't get upset when they go and choose a competitor's brand. Because in the business world, it works like this. The business that provides quality products to their customers and quality service to their customers, they're going to eventually build a reputation among their audience of customers, and that's going to build the word of mouth that allows their business to expand, allows their business to grow, and allows their business to grow to the next level. The one big problem at Marvel and DC, it seems these days, is customer service, and that's why the comic book industry has been struggling for the last couple of years, because people don't understand how important customers are to their products, and they don't understand that a customer wants to be treated with respect, they want to be treated with dignity, and they want to be able to feel comfortable about buying a product. And the way you show a customer that they can feel comfortable about buying your product is by showing them respect and showing them that you value them by doing things like making sure that the product is of the highest quality possible. And if there are issues with the product, that there is somebody there who's going to show that they care about that product so much that they're willing to answer any questions in a constructive fashion and deal with any issues that people have with the product in a speedy way. If you would like to try some of the SJS Direct Universe titles like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, and the Temptation of John Haynes, or other books in the SJS Direct Universe, not the SJS Direct Universe, but SJS Direct catalog, such as the Thetas or the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to the Amazon.com in the description box. And if you want to help me make more videos and pay for book covers, you may donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.